Mikhail. This is a demo for the feature we're building called GitLab-managed Kubernetes resources. And we have a design doc for it, and here is the problem to solve, the requirements, but in short, it allows our users to define a certain set of Kubernetes objects that are provisioned when a CI job is about to be executed for a certain environment. So a typical use case would be to create a namespace and some uh, credentials or identity using service account in Kubernetes, and then deploy a review app or actually maybe a production workload into that namespace. So from the GitLab's perspective, that's an environment. And yeah, we are just letting people to bootstrap the environment. This is not GitOps. This doesn't have a goal of supporting all kinds of resources. It's only to bootstrap an environment. As part of that bootstrap, we are planning to support Flux objects, and then you can actually have a full real GitOps. But the main use case is just a namespace and service account, and later credentials to pull from GitLab registry as well, and maybe a few other things. Um, So the first iteration of the work that's in the Kubernetes agent server is mostly ready, and I wrote an integration test that mimics what the Rails part would do, and that's the demo basically to show you what it does, how it works. So here we set up mocks for Gitali and for GitLab. Then we start a container with the actual real Kubernetes agent server. Then we also have a K3s, so Kubernetes running in the container. That's our Kubernetes cluster. Then we deploy agent K as a pod into that Kubernetes cluster. It connects to CAS. We give it the URL of CAS to connect to. Then we get the API gRPC API that Rails uses to talk to CAS. We get that client for that API. And then we call this RPC, which is get default environment template, which gives us the default template that is used by default. And then uh, we render that default template. Then we use that render template to actually ensure that environment exists. And then this RPC gives us a list of objects that were created without the contents of the objects, just the name, namespace, and kinds of those objects. And then we iterate the list, and we get each object and we print. So this actually talks to this loop talks to the Kubernetes API, the real Kubernetes API, to confirm that the object that CAS says it created is actually there. So it's a test for the whole thing, right? To just actually go and check if it's there. So I just ran it. I'm not going to run it live because it's 3 minutes, mostly because of it, it builds a container to use and so on. But the interesting parts are here. Well, it all starts, but then this is the template that we got. This is the default template. It consists of two objects, a namespace with a templated name, so environment slug, project ID, and agent ID, and the row binding for the group, which is a group that we use when we execute a CI job with CI job impersonation. So all objects, all CI jobs will have a group. All identities of CI jobs will have a group that says that it's GitLab project environment, ID of the project where the CI job is running, and the environment slug. So all of those jobs will have admin row in that namespace. So it's a row binding. So admin in that namespace, and namespace matches what is used here. The same pattern. Yeah, this is the default template. Then we render it, and this is the rendered version. Annotation with all the meta information is here. Then labels to be able to find these objects. Both have the same annotations and labels. There may be more than one environment in a single namespace, so we have to use identifiers in the label key, not in the label value, so that they don't clash too much. um, so yeah, this is the render template, the namespace and the row binding. And you see that everything has been substituted. And then it talks to cast via agent K. Then we see in logs of agent that it's handled two patch requests, which is what happens when you do server-side apply, which is what we use. And then that loop here, that's what it prints. It prints that namespace, what that it got from Kubernetes, and you see that all the meta information from the apply, server-side apply, agent K is the manager, and all the usual things. And this is the row binding as well. Lots of meta information and all the normal contents, and that's it. So yeah, it provisions things. uh, yeah, now this can be used to start working on the Rails side of the feature. There's more work to do here. Of course, I want to test various edge cases and add support for templates in the files. So, so yeah, this is it for this demo. Thank you.